Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabriella. If you've never been here before, thank you for stopping by, and if you have been here before, thank you for being a loyal, faithful viewer. Thank you. I love y'all.
Yeah, keep it low key. Ain't no beefing with me. Live life drama free, cause I got places to be.
So this video has been super overdue. If you watched my apartment tour video, you know that I told you guys I was gonna share with you guys how God showed me my apartment way before I even found it, or way before I even started looking for places. I know it sounds super crazy, especially if you're not a believer. Definitely stick around and watch, because it is my experience and I definitely have felt in my heart to share this with you guys. By no means am I calling myself a prophetess or anything like that. This is just me sharing my experience of how God spoke to me in a dream about something that was super important, and about something that I needed at the time. This is just the way that God speaks to me. He speaks to me in other ways too, but the main way that God speaks to me is through dreams. He'll show me things or let me see certain things about myself, about other people, about situations, about the future. There's been many times where I've dreamt about something. It either has to do with me or somebody else, and it always comes to pass. It could be a week later, a month later, years later, but it always happens. So this video is just to glorify the Lord. I'm not taking any credit for anything. I'm in this space because of God's grace. Even the way I got my apartment, like I wasn't supposed to qualify for it. So God just made a way, so I just wanted to share it with you guys. So every time that I have a very vivid dream, or I feel like is a dream that God is trying to tell me something in, I always write it down, and I always use my notes in my phone. I'm recording with my phone, so I'm not gonna read it off my phone. I'm gonna be reading it off my iPad. So I'm gonna put a screenshot of the dream right over here. And you can see by the date that I wrote it on February 29th. So I didn't move into my place until May. Before I go into the dream, I'm gonna share with you guys a little bit of backstory. I was born in New York City, but I grew up in Connecticut. So from the time that I was 9 years old to 18, that I graduated high school, I was in Connecticut. So I consider myself mostly a Connecticut girl, because that's where I spent most of my childhood at. So when I turned 18, I wanted to come back to New York City. I always said, like, I'm moving back to New York because that's where I was born, and that's where I'm gonna make all my dreams come true. And I just had like this whole plan in high school of me moving back to New York. So yeah, I moved here summer after high school graduation, and I started dorming, and I was living with roommates while I was in college. A year later, I dropped out of the college that I was in because I realized that I just wanted to switch my major around. If you watched my depression video of my experience with depression and how I overcame it, you know a little bit of that story, and what happened with me dropping out of school. So from that time, 2011, that I moved out of my dorm, all the way up until 2020, I have lived in 16 different places. I've always been renting rooms from people who own apartments and have rooms for rent. Usually when people rent out their rooms, it's not long term. At the most that they'll rent like 2 years, 3 years. So in the places that I was living at, I had crazy roommates, crazy experiences. I wasn't stable because, you know, it wasn't my own place, and I was working minimum wage jobs. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my music career, and I didn't know if I wanted to go back to school, and so many other things that I was just trying to figure out. And I was in my early 20s, and I was just kind of like trying to figure out my life. So I never had enough money or enough credentials, you could say, to get my own place in the city. If you know, New York City is super expensive. Rent here is super expensive, and landlords require like a gajillion things for you to get approved. So I just wasn't in that space. I moved around from place to place, and then in 2019, I ended up being homeless, and I was actually living in a shelter for about, let me see, February to July. So that's like, what, 5 months? During that semester, I was in college. Like by this time, I was already back in college. I was majoring in music. I was working full time, and I literally was just so stressed out. I was so stressed out, but I knew that I had to work hard to get myself to a better place. So things in the shelter were just super stressful, and I needed to get out of there. So then I ended up moving in with two of my friends who are a couple, and they actually let me stay there for free in exchange of me helping them babysit their child and other things around the house. So during that year, all of 2019, basically I wasn't paying any rent. So I was, partially because I was in the shelter, and then the second half of the year I was staying with my friends. So I was able to save up money, and thank you to my friends, because if it wasn't for that opportunity, I probably wouldn't have been able to save enough money to get my own place, because even when you're renting a room, rent is super high, and so I would have just been spending all my money on bills and rent. So all of 2019 I was able to save up money. I was working full-time as an accounts payable clerk, and I also started a little business on the side selling t-shirts. With those two things, I was able to save enough money to get my own place. So May 2020 was my graduation day. I was done with school, and that was my goal for me to get my own place. I told myself, like, 2020 is the year that I'm gonna have my own place. Like, I refuse to move back into another room, living with other people that I don't really know, paying rent in a place that doesn't belong to me. Like, I had already been there, done that for the past like 9 years, so I was just really over it, and I refused to just go back to that life. So my friends agreed to let me stay there until I graduated, so that way I could just like focus on school and save enough money to move out. So the beginning of 2020, I was already like in, you know, operation mode. Like, I had gotten my credit to where it needed to be. I had saved enough money, and I knew, like, okay, like, I need to start looking for places. So January, I was looking for places, but I'm like, you know what, I'm not gonna look yet because I still have like 4 more months before I need to move out. So it just doesn't make any sense for me to start looking now, because if I do find a place that I like and that I can qualify for, you know, I don't want to move just yet. Like, I want to give myself until I'm done with, you know, finals and college and I graduate, in order for me to actually just move out. I put my search on pause, and then the end of February, I remember I was so sleep deprived, y'all. Like, my last semester of college, I was so tired all the time because I had like a million things to do, and I was working, you know, a 9 to 5, and then I was going to night classes, and then I was also helping out where I was living at, because that was like my exchange for me to live there for free. So I was literally so tired all the time. I gained so much weight. I was sleep deprived. I was super stressed. And on top of that, I was stressed about just the fact that I would need to move in a few months, and I had to find a place. And I was low-key like stressing out, like, oh my gosh, like, am I gonna find a place in time, or am I gonna even find a place at all? Because, you know, I know how hard it is to get an apartment out here in New York by yourself. So I have this thing where, like, I always wake up around like 5 o'clock in the morning to go use the bathroom, but I didn't need to get up until like 6:30 because that was when my alarm was gonna ring for me to go to work. So I went and used the bathroom, and then I went back to sleep. But you know, like, when you're sleeping and you're like in between sleep, like, you're not really asleep, but you're not really awake either. You're sleeping, but you're still kind of like, it's called like REM sleep. You guys don't know what that is, look it up because I don't want to like go into that. I kind of fell asleep, and then like I felt like the dream was like a vision, but it was also a dream, and it was super vivid. Okay, so I wrote, this morning I had a very vivid dream that felt so real. I say this morning because it was after my first alarm had rang 6:30 a.m. Pause. I have this thing where I will literally snooze my alarm like 3 times. That's why I was still kind of dreaming even after my alarm rang, because I subconsciously like just snooze it. I'm just not a morning person. Okay. So I fell back asleep, but it wasn't a deep sleep. I believe I was in REM sleep. So the dream began where I went to go see an apartment. My mom and my sister were with me though. I didn't see their faces, but I felt it was them. Pause. You've ever had a dream where like you don't see someone's face in the dream, but you know who the person is? So it was that kind of thing. The dream quickly fast forwarded to me already living in the apartment, as if it was my first morning waking up there. I could tell because I barely had any furniture yet, and there were only the beginning necessary things like my bed, a blue couch, and house cleaning supplies. As I woke up to go to work, I was not in a rush. I went into the bathroom and I got into the shower. The bathroom was beautiful, super modern with wooden finishes, and had a spa-like shower head. As I was in the shower, I noticed that my mom was leaving, so I got out of the shower to make sure the door was locked behind her. She told me it'll lock by itself, don't worry about it. I still closed the door behind her anyway, and I could hear my neighbors in the hallway talking to their kids as if they were leaving for school. They were being kind of loud, but it didn't bother me. I was just happy to be in my own home. As I went back into the bathroom, I looked for the second light switch to turn on the second light in the bathroom. Pause. So, I don't know, I didn't show this in my apartment tour, but in my bathroom, there's actually like 2 light switches. One of them is for the light that's in the shower, and then another one is for the light that's actually in the bathroom. So I actually like saw that in my dream, but it was a little bit differently. So then it goes, I accidentally turned the light on to my walk-in closet that I could enter in through a different door in my bathroom. Pause. So in real life, there's no door from my bathroom to my walk-in closet, but my bathroom is literally right next, like my bathroom and my closet share a wall. So it was really weird how I saw that in the dream, because my actual apartment, like there's no actual door to go into the closet from the bathroom, but they're literally right on the same wall. So they're like if there was a door from the bathroom to the closet, like I could easily enter, if you understand what I'm saying. Then I found the correct switch and turned on the right light. Once the second bathroom light came on, it was so much brighter in the bathroom and I could see clearly. As I got back in the tub, I noticed that my belly was smaller, flatter than before, as if I had lost weight from working out. Pause. So as I told you guys earlier, I gained a lot of weight in 2019. And so one of my goals has been to lose some weight. Now, I'm definitely not where I want to be. Like, I'm way far from where I want to be, but I definitely have lost weight since I moved into my own place, because I've been just cooking more and not eating out as much. And I've also haven't been incorporating a few workouts throughout the week. So that was funny that I saw that in the dream, because it actually has happened in real life too. So I said I wasn't where I wanted to be yet fit-wise, but there was a lot of progress. Fast forward, I was sitting on the toilet just looking out at the apartment, and I noticed the walls had some marks on them. So I said to myself, yes, this place definitely needs to be painted. But I was excited about that. Then I looked at my living room and saw a blue couch and some shelves on the wall above it. Then I saw my kitchen, and it was modern and beautiful. I had a washer and dryer and saw a fresh bottle of laundry detergent on top of the washer. So if you saw my apartment tour, you see that even though it's in a closet, my washer and dryer are literally right in my kitchen. All the appliances are like lined up. Then I go, as I sat there on the toilet, I was so happy and just kept saying, wow, you are so good, God. Thank you, Lord. Pause. So I know this sounds super weird, but whenever I'm like using the bathroom, it's like a moment between me and God. I know it sounds really, really like weird, but I just like to talk to God when I'm, like you're in that space, you're just sitting there, you're just, you're zoning out. And I just really like to talk to God while I'm there. So when I saw myself doing that in the dream, I'm like, wow, like that's crazy, because I do that in real life. And the fact that I was praising God, like thanking him, like just looking around my place and just thanking him, like, wow, God, like you're so good. Like that's how I knew that the dream was from the Lord, because I was literally just praising him, and I was just so thankful, and I was so at peace. So continuing the dream. Then the dream fast forwarded, and I'm outside walking around the neighborhood looking to buy coffee. The streets were somewhat crowded, and I noticed that everyone was wearing summer clothes. However, I knew that it was spring, and I was wearing shorts and a pink tank top and sandals. I was also in the south side of the Bronx by I'm not gonna say the avenue in the street because I don't want y'all to know where I live, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna leave that little part out, but I literally saw the exact street and avenue of where my apartment was, and I literally live here now. I've lived most of my time here in New York in the Bronx, so I'm very familiar with the Bronx. And so when I had the dream, I knew exactly where that was. So then I also had a small handbag. I walked into an open door deli and I wanted to order coffee even though I had just ate a healthy breakfast at home. There were 2 people ahead of me in line, so I just decided not to buy coffee even though I wasn't in a hurry because I had a work from home job. Pause again. I'm sorry, I keep pausing with it. I feel like if I don't explain it as I'm going, you guys are gonna be like, maybe you'll be kind of lost, I don't know. So before I even found my apartment, my current job, my accounting job, had furloughed everyone and they sent everybody home. They were still paying us, but we weren't working. So I went ahead and got a second job with Amazon, and I was working as a customer service rep from home, which is another answered prayer because I've always wanted to work from home. Like, that's just always been one of the things that I've wanted to do, and God made a way for me to have that. But when I had this dream, coronavirus still hadn't hit, so I didn't even know how I was gonna get that. This is like God just showing me everything that was gonna happen. And when I moved into my apartment, like, I was still working from home for the first like month and a half that I was here. Then I asked the woman behind the counter. She had a hijab on, so I could tell that she was Muslim. She proceeded to show me directions to a gym on my phone, and she said it was right off Dorian Street on Route 2, and it was free with my apartment. It looked like I had to drive through a highway to get there, even though it was part of my rent package. However, the feeling I got was that it was no biggie because I had a car. Then my second alarm rang and I woke up. When that part in the dream where the lady at the store was telling me, hey, you have this free gym membership, it's off this highway, she was showing me on my phone on Google Maps. And when I looked at the map in the dream, I saw the freeway and exactly the shape of the freeway. And I kid you not, guys, my building is right next to a freeway in the exact same shape that I saw in the dream, in the exact same location that I saw in the dream. Literally, it was just like so spot on. And then the fact that she also told me that I had a free gym membership. In my building, there's a gym, so I can use it for free. There's no extra cost for it. There's also other amenities that are part of the building. So the last part of the dream that was really like profound was the fact that the lady at the store told me that the gym was right off Dorian Street. So when I had the dream, a couple days after, I literally Googled what are all the streets in the Bronx, and as I'm looking at the list, there's no Dorian Street. So I'm just like, what does that even mean? Why would that be in the dream? And I know that when God gives you a dream, all the little things that you might find, all the little things that you might find kind of weird actually mean something, and it's something that you can only understand it spiritually. It's not logical. That's why it's good to always seek the Lord to give you his revelation of what the dream means, or to guide you to the actual meaning, because if you're trying to decipher it on your own, you're probably just gonna be like, okay, this doesn't make sense, whatever. But the word of God says that God's thoughts are not our thoughts. His ways are not our ways. So the things that make sense to God don't make sense to us, because some of the things, not everything, but that's just how it is, because God is God. Like, he's outside of our time. He knows the past, future, present. He knows eternity. So when I saw Dorian in the dream, I was praying. I'm like, God, like, what does that mean? Because I know that this dream was from you. Like, I felt your presence in the dream. I was praising you. I had so much peace. And just the scenery of the dream, everything was just very like lit up, and I don't even know how to explain it. Like, I wish I could just like take a picture of my brain and upload it to the video. Everything was just very, very bright. And we know that God is a God of light and peace, and that's exactly how I felt in the dream. So I was like, God, what does this word mean? I went to a Christian college, and even though I majored in music, I minored in biblical studies. So I took a lot of biblical classes while I was in college, and something that I learned while I was in college is that the original text of the Bible was written in Aramaic Greek. Basically, what happened was that all of these scrolls were found written in Aramaic, and they were put together to make what the Bible is today. So automatically I got the thought, like God told me, look up what the word means in Greek. So when I looked up the meaning, y'all, I was just shook. When I had the dream and I saw how much the apartment costed and I saw how the apartment looked, I was like, God, this looks like a luxury building. This looks like a luxury apartment. Like, how am I gonna be able to afford this? I will never get approved for this. So after I looked up the meaning and I saw that it meant freely, a gift that's undeserved, God was telling me, like, I know that you think that you don't deserve this, and I know that you think that you won't qualify, but this is gonna be my gift to you because you've been patient, because you've been hardworking, and because you've put other people before you. Even when you've been tired, even when you've been drained, you still did what you had to do. After I heard all of that, and the way that God speaks is not like, it's not like a voice. It's more of like an internal, like he gives you the thoughts, like he gives you the words, and he just speaks it into your mind, and you're like, oh, like this is why. It's really hard to explain unless you've actually experienced it. But after I saw what the meaning, what the word meant, where I was living at the time, my desk was in front of a big window. And when I looked out the window, it was like around 4:30, 5 o'clock, because it was February at the time, so the sun sets earlier here on the East Coast. And when I looked out the window, I just saw like these pink and purple colors in the sky because the sun was setting. And as I'm looking out, I'm just like, wow, God, like, you're so good. Like, you're so amazing. And I can't even express it with words how good you are, because I knew that this dream was from you, and I had no idea what some of the parts of the dream meant, and you actually showed it to me. You gave me the meaning. When I started looking for apartments at the end of March, the first apartment that I applied for was not the apartment that God had shown me in the dream, but I was so desperate, and I was kind of like, even though I knew what God had told me, I was kind of like still doubtful. So I went ahead and I applied for this other apartment, and literally I sent the landlord my entire life. My application actually was good. The broker told me, like, you know, basically I got denied. The landlord was like, no, we don't want her, basically. And the broker that was helping me apply was like, that's crazy, because your application's good, your credit is good, you have enough income. Like, you know, we don't know why he denied you. That's when it hit me. I was like, you know what? This wasn't the place for me. This wasn't the place that God had shown me. So I'm just gonna go back to the drawing board, and I'm just gonna look at other places. So I started looking in the area that I had seen in the dream. I started looking, and all the apartments in this area are expensive. Like, if you live in New York City, you know that the Bronx is getting gentrified, and they're creating a lot of luxury buildings, where the Bronx used to be the cheapest place in New York City that you could live at, and now it's kind of not. I was looking at these prices, and I'm like, Lord, like, I don't like, I don't even know what to tell you, because this just, I'm not gonna get approved. Like, if I didn't get approved for that other apartment and it was cheaper in an area that was not gentrified, like, there's no way that I'm gonna get approved. Because of the whole coronavirus thing, a lot of landlords were giving incentives to rent out their apartments. I found this place, and I was like, okay, it's a studio. It looks kind of small, but I don't know. It was a little bit over my budget, but I was just like, okay, like, let's see, because they're giving an incentive. So I hit up the lady, the broker that posted the thing, and then she was like, okay, so basically, you know, it's a studio, it's a modern apartment, there's amenities, there's a gym, laundry, blah, 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 telling me all the stuff. And then she goes, but it's a 2-year lease, and if you sign a 2-year lease, we'll give you 2 months free. So I was like, okay, so how are you guys giving the 2 months free? Like, are you taking the cost of 2 months and dividing that difference between every month? So basically, if the apartment was $1,800 and there's 2 months free, you take that amount of 2 months and then you divide it by 24, and however much that is, is how much they'll deduct from the monthly rent, because that's usually how landlords do the free month, if they do a free month on the lease. So then she tells me, no, you're basically going to be paying the full amount every month, and you'll have the last month of each year free. So I'm like, dang. Like, I don't know if so I told her, I was so real with her. I'm like, listen, I don't think that I'm gonna be able to afford this, because if you guys divided the free month throughout the lease, then you know that would work for me, because I would basically be paying like $1,500 a month or $1,400 a month. Like that would work for me. So then she goes, I don't think that, she was like, honestly, the landlord's not gonna go for that. Like, he's just gonna give you the last 2 months of both years free. So I was like, all right. So basically, they were giving like a free $500 gift card to anybody who signed a lease in May. So then she goes, what if we upped the free gift card to $2,000? Would that help you? Because you could take that amount and divide it up between the lease. It's a little bit more than what 1 month of rent would cost you. So I was like, if you could get the landlord to agree to that, then that would work for me. So she calls me back like a few hours later, and she's like, hey, the landlord says it's fine. So if you sign the lease, and if you move in the first week of May and you sign the lease, we'll give you the $2,000 gift card on top of the 2 months free on the lease. So I was like, yo, this is God, because you will never hear a landlord giving somebody $2,000 on top of 2 months free. Like, that's just unthinkable. So when I fill out the application, I come see the apartment. So then she hits me back and she's like, hey, the landlord's gonna deny your application because you're $3,000 under the yearly salary that we need you to make. So I was like, okay, so I guess it's not meant to be. I was just like, listen, I'm not gonna force it, because if it's God, it's gonna work out. So basically she told me, if you can get a guarantor that makes more money than you, then he'll approve you. And I'm like, listen, I don't know anybody with good credit that makes more money than me that would even wanna, you know, like, co-signing something is a big deal, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're basically making yourself responsible for that person's bills. I was just like, honestly, I don't know anybody that would co-sign for me, or anybody who would be in that position. It's just not gonna work out. So then she tells me about this thing called Insurant. It's a company that basically co-signs for you if you pay them a fee. So I found the website, I applied to Insurant, and literally like an hour later they approved my application. And they basically said, like, because it was a 2-month lease, I would have to pay them a fee of 2 months of what my rent is, basically. If it was a 1-year lease, I would have just had to pay them 1 month. And so they co-signed for me. I signed a contract with them, and they sent my contract and all of my application information to the landlord. And like literally the next day, the landlord approved me. And a few days later, I got my keys to my place. And, you know, it's not a big place, you know, but it's just me and my dog, and you can see him in the background over there. He's trying to get comfortable. It's just me and my dog, but I love it. I just feel so comfortable. I'm at peace. I'm decorating. I'm doing the things that I've been wanting to do for so long. I'm just really thankful to the Lord, because if it wasn't for him moving his hand and making it possible for me to get this place, like, I would not be here, to be honest with you. And so he even made a way for me to be able to get an extra income that would help me get approved. Just the way that he showed me the apartment in a dream, he showed me exactly what it looked like, the exact amenities that were in the building and in the apartment, the exact location to the T, like to the T. I literally live right on the street and 1 avenue over from the avenue that I saw in the dream. And just him showing me in the dream that, you know, like, even though you might not see a way for you to get this place, like, this is gonna be my gift to you, and I'm gonna make a way. God knew, you know, how much I've struggled the past 10 years moving from place to place and being kicked out of places just because the landlords decide, hey, like, we don't want to rent a room anymore, so you have to move by next month. And you know, my life would just be turned upside down. And I've gone through a lot, and honestly, if I sat here and told you guys everything, this video would be super long. But I just wanted to thank God and share with you guys that, you know, if you're going through a situation and you don't see how it's possible, if it's God's will, He will make it happen. Like, He will open that door, and He will also send people to help you, like how the broker for this building helped me. I'm here and I'm super happy, and I'm just really thankful. God is good. God is good. So thank you guys so much for making it to the end of this video. I just wanted to share this with you guys to encourage you all and just share my testimony and my journey with me just getting my own place in New York City. It's been a really rough journey, but you know, if you work hard and you keep God first, nothing is impossible. So thank you guys again, and I'll see you guys next time.